If you're an AP seminar teacher, you know there's one tool that basically runs your entire year. It's the engine behind everything. So today, we're going to do a guided tour and really master that essential hub, the AP Digital Portfolio. Now, don't think of this as just another piece of software you have to learn. It's so much more than that. It's the command center for your course. Seriously, from a student's first research query to your final click on their score, everything, and I mean everything, flows through this one platform. It's how you'll manage those big performance tasks from beginning to end.
So here's our game plan for this tour. We've broken it down into 5 key stops. We'll start with the big picture, then get you set up, take a look at things from a student's point of view, clarify exactly what your role is, and then wrap up with the deadlines that you absolutely, positively cannot miss. Sound good? Let's dive in. Okay, section 1. Let's just be crystal clear about how central this platform is. Every single piece of the performance tasks, from a student finding a source to them uploading a draft, all the way to you punching in that final score, it all happens right here. It's the single source of truth. If it's not in the portfolio, for all intents and purposes, it didn't happen.
And you can really see the scope of it right here. For your students, this is their portal to research databases like EBSCO. It's the only place they can upload their drafts and run those all-important Turnitin originality reports. And for you, it's mission control. You'll set up the project teams, score the presentations, and, this is a big one, complete those new authenticity checkpoints and attestations. It really is the whole shebang.
All right, on to the practical stuff. Before anyone can even log in, you've got a couple of foundational steps to knock out inside AP Classroom. Trust me, getting this right from the very beginning is going to save you so many headaches down the line.
It's actually a pretty simple 3-step process. First things first, you've got to work with your AP coordinator to make sure your class sections are actually created in MyAP. Step 2, you give each student the unique join code for your class. That's how they get in. And finally, once they're enrolled, both you and your students can log right in at digitalportfolio.collegeboard.org. That initial setup is basically the key that unlocks the entire system for everyone. Okay, let's switch gears for a second and see things from the student's perspective. Understanding their workflow isn't just a nice to have. It's absolutely crucial if you want to guide them effectively and, avoid any last-minute chaos. So the number one thing for students to get is that they're uploading drafts. It's an iterative process. Every time they upload a new file, it just replaces the old one. And 2 critical rules. All written work must be saved as a PDF, and it absolutely cannot have any identifying info on it. No name, no school, nothing. The document has to be anonymous. Your students will mostly be dealing with 3 big buttons. Upload New is what they'll use to submit their current draft. Run Originality Report is their best friend for checking their work against the Turnitin database to catch any citation issues. And then there's Submit Final. That one, well, that's the point of no return. They should only click that when their paper is 100% ready for official scoring. Now, a really, really important point for you, the teacher. You'll see a return file function. Be careful with this one. It has a very specific, very limited purpose. You should only use it for technical problems, like if a file is corrupted and won't open, or if they accidentally uploaded their history paper. You absolutely cannot use it to give feedback on their writing or to suggest revisions. That is a hard and fast rule. Okay, this next section is all about your most critical jobs inside the digital portfolio. We're talking about managing the tasks, making sure everything is authentic with those new checkpoints, and of course, scoring your students' presentations. This is where the boundaries become super clear. On the one hand, yes, you absolutely should be reminding students about deadlines, holding check-in meetings, and pointing them toward good resource types. But that don't column is just as important. You cannot write, revise, or give specific directive feedback on their work. And notice the new item that's on both lists. Do not forget to complete those attestations. It's a must-do. So let's dig into those new attestations. You're probably seeing this and wondering, okay, why this extra step? Well, the answer is pretty simple. It's all about making sure we maintain academic integrity, especially now with all these new AI tools out there. These new checkpoints were created specifically in response to generative AI, and the policy is straightforward. Students can use AI tools to maybe brainstorm or check their grammar, but they cannot use them to skip the real work of the course, the actual research, the analysis, the synthesis, and the writing. These checkpoints are designed to make sure the students are the ones doing that heavy lifting. So let's walk through the first checkpoint. This one applies to both the IRR and the IWA. First, the student submits a log of their sources. Simple enough. Then, you have a quick conversation with them about their research process. Your job here is just to see if they can talk about their research beyond what's written down. You're looking for that spark that shows they've genuinely engaged with the material. Then, after the student hits that final submit button on their paper, you have one more attestation to make. You have to pick one of three options. Yes, if you're confident the work is authentic. No, if you believe it's not their own work, and that's going to require a violation report. Or questionable, if you're just not sure, which also requires a report. This is a really critical step for verifying the integrity of their submission. And just a quick reminder of two other key things you'll be managing in the portfolio. You are responsible for going to the Manage Teams page and setting up the student groups for the team project. And of course, this is the one and only place where you will enter all the scores for the presentations and the oral defenses. And here we are. We've arrived at what is, without a doubt, the most critical part of this whole process. The deadlines we're about to talk about are absolute. They are set in stone, and the consequences for missing them, well, they're pretty severe. Okay, there are two dates you need to burn into your memory. The first one is for your students, April 30th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. All written work has to be submitted as final. The moment the clock strikes midnight, the digital portfolio locks for students, period. The second deadline is for you, May 10th. All of your presentation scores and all of those authenticity attestations have to be done by then. And if you need to understand just how serious that May 10th deadline is, just look at this direct quote from the official guidelines. Students will receive a 0 for the IRR if the attestation is not completed by the teacher. That's not a suggestion, folks. That is the rule. And the same thing applies to the IWA. Let me be perfectly 100% clear. April 30th is the student's responsibility. May 10th is your responsibility. If you miss your deadline to enter scores and complete the attestations, all of your students' hard work from the entire year will simply not be scored. The stakes just could not be any higher. So we'll leave you with this thought. After seeing this whole process laid out, the two big questions are your class sections set up in MyAP, and do you feel ready to guide your students through this? Taking care of that setup right now is the single best thing you can do to make sure this whole process is smooth for you and for them.